All right, we are here in Los Angeles with a good friend of mine, a recent graduate, a good friend of all of ours, but a recent graduate from The Ohio State University. I had to say the. Greg Oden, you are here in Los Angeles.
Thanks for having me, fellas.
You just graduated, as I said. What does that mean for you? What are you up to now? Life has begun for you.
Well, I stayed on your couch last night.
You did. This is true.
It's the post-grad life.
It is. Yeah.
It's like that for everyone, even if you're a number one pick.
As soon as you graduate, you come out to L.A. and you couch surf.
Yes.
It makes a lot of sense, yeah.
No, it's funny. You tried to get me to stay in your room, and I was like, fuck that.
Whoa, hold on. Can we rephrase that?
Are we breaking news here?
Oh, yeah. Mark Titus is a chivalrous human being.
Oh,
and
the
he
best.
tried to get me to
I'm just
not
saying.
sleep on his couch. He would sleep on the couch and allow me to sleep in his bed.
Thank you.
But I thought that was awkward as shit, so I just...
Again, Greg, we really need to emphasize that I was not going to sleep in the bed with you.
No.
It was...
Well, first off, that's not even something I would even think about, but that's cool that we have to let people know this. I didn't think so.
I think it says more about you for not taking the bed, because a lot of people they say the first no, and then the second time around, they're like, all right, why not? You know, I'm in town, I'm visiting.
My couch is like 6 feet long.
Yes, it is. Very comfortable. Yeah, I mean, it's a 5-star couch.
And Greg's like, I'll sleep on it. I was like, I don't know how that's going to work out. And I said I would sleep on it, but no. You slept on the couch last night, and you're here. So what are you doing? What are you up to? What are you trying to accomplish with your life? Last time you were on our podcast was a year ago, I think, last summer. And we did the whole thing. We did the life story. We don't need to do that again. We don't need to revisit that. We're here now. But what is next for you other than the big three?
Trying to get my foot in the door in the coaching. And the NBA
Same.
is
Same. It's tough. As it turns out, you have to actually like network and be good at coaching. You can't just change your Twitter profile and then demand someone hire you.
Maybe
it's
you guys,
harder than that.
Maybe you
I
guys
did
pull like
see that,
the
actually.
Fleetwood Mac thing where you're Lindsey Buckingham and you're Stevie Nicks, and he's like, I'll go, but I have to bring Mark Titus with
There we
me.
go.
You know, like a little package deal. I like
Why
that.
not?
I mean, no. But no, it's cool. Just trying to get in coaching though. I enjoyed it the past 3 years at the college level, and you know, I think I can do some good for, you know, some of these players. I got a little bit of knowledge of the game and about life being an NBA player. So I hope there's an opportunity, you know, willing to learn, do whatever I need to get my foot in the door.
Speaking of helping guys and having experience and all that stuff, part of the reason I also wanted to have you in and talk to you is the draft is coming up.
Yes.
There's a man in this draft named Zion Williamson who has a certain amount of hype around him.
Some are saying the most
Some are saying
hyped athlete, basketball player.
It's basically
of
like
the 21st century.
Since LeBron, it's like you and Anthony Davis and Zion and I don't know who else, but there are very few guys that have reached this level of As I have to explain to everyone.
Oh yeah, Michael Porter.
Michael Porter was up there.
Yeah.
As I have to explain to everyone, when they revisit the 2007 draft, it wasn't that people had no idea Kevin Durant would be this good. It was that they knew Durant was going to be this good. You were just that much better. You were hyped. And the point of bringing this up is like, what is, like, is Zion going through right now? What do you see like him experiencing and the difference when you were going through it in 07? Because I feel like you had it much easier than he has it. He's getting not ripped to shreds. I shouldn't say that. He's getting over it. Like the fact that his shoe blows out and then everyone talks about him for nonstop for every second of and back then when you were playing, it was just sort of like it just felt like, I don't know, you're a really good player and that's really all we're going to talk about. It wasn't like analyzing to the nth degree with everything.
Oh, I remember.
Mm-hmm.
It was 2007 was different because it was Portland, Seattle. So your mindset was kind of
I don't
Pacific
like rain.
Northwest.
What was your I was talking about they were trying to pretend like Zion when New Orleans came up, he was really upset because he wanted to go to New York.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was telling Tate about when we were watching the lottery in 07 in the dorm. And I do you remember that experience of watching the lottery, knowing like this is where I'm going to probably spend? At the time, you're like, this is probably where I'll spend the next 15 years of my life, whichever city pops up.
No, I got on the flight before it happened, and when I landed, so I got on the flight thinking Boston and Memphis had the two best chances. Mm-hmm. And I landed like, Portland, Seattle? What? I've never even been over there before. That's whatever.
Did I just rob Palinka myself, by the way? Because I remember you coming into the door. This must have been like 2 days later after this.
Yeah.
Because I told the story to Tate. I was like,
You're like, Greg, we were at dinner.
yeah, I was like, I'll never forget Greg and Heath Ledger
was up there.
walked into my room.
See how it happens.
Yes, I was definitely on the flight because I remember that because I was actually with Jody. And
But I remember you coming into the dorm and like just like the first thing. That must have been like 2 days later. But I remember you coming in the dorm and you're just like, so Portland, huh?
Yeah.
And you're like, what do you know about Portland? And I was like, nothing, Greg. And that was
It was definitely after, like, not the same day of the draft.
So what are your feelings like when that like as you just don't care. You're just like, I just want to play in the NBA.
Well, you pointed out the difference. It's like Zion is in a room and he does the whole walk around all the teams.
Yeah.
Everyone's sitting. He like pats the Atlanta Hawks thing and everyone gets all excited.
Zion was there?
He was there at the actual lottery,
Yeah,
which is what
that's
you're talking about.
awkward.
Yeah, exactly. So the difference between 07 and 12 years, now we have, like, you could have been there. Portland gets the #1 pick and then camera pans to Greg and Greg
Right.
is like,
Yeah.
I've never been to Portland. You know what I mean?
And
Like, I don't know.
imagine like all the lead up to your draft where it's the Oden sweepstakes. I mean, this was going on back then, but it wasn't like they were doing the draft lottery. It wasn't even the draft lottery. It was the Zion thing, and they're showing like photoshops of Zion in Knicks uniforms and like giving the whole Knicks history because it's like the chosen one has to go to New York to save this bullshit franchise, and this was like the whole thing about it. And I don't remember that being a thing, and I feel like you would hate that very
Yeah,
much.
yeah,
That would not have suited you well.
That would have been way too much. I mean, that's a spectacle for TV, not for Zion. Yeah, I think because whatever happens is going to be a surprise to him. He really doesn't know. And so for everybody to do all that and you just pan just to get his reaction, that's all for TV. And to be put in that situation, damn, he's a better man than me.
And so, like, when did that click in your mind? I mean, I guess it did at some point once you were, getting, recruited so high at high school. But when did you know, like, oh, this isn't necessarily about me. This is about TV. This is about the fans. This is about the whole, experience of being a professional, basketball fan in today's time. And it's not necessarily about your journey, even though everyone's going to be a part of your journey, at least to a certain level. Because now I feel like everyone's tethered to Zion. But, what happens when, let's say Cole Anthony next year has another Zion year. What happens in that sense? Do people forget? Because once you get in the league and you're a rookie, it's not the same. We're not talking about Marvin Bagley or DeAndre Ayton the same way we were last summer. So, like, how do you deal with that shift, as you move on, I guess?
You got to prove yourself. I mean, if you wanted to keep on coming, then you got to be LeBron, basically.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people are able to do that. You get that much hype, and then you come in, and that first game, you got to dominate, Like, for me, it was tough. You have that type of hype, and then, 3 months into it, I'm having, season-ending surgery. So it was like, well, damn, what's going on?
Damn.
And then and then you just move on to the next guy,
Damn, that's
So
tough.
what was that?
Damn, that's tough. Should be the title of your autobiography.
It is different though, just being a big man in 2007. Now, I mean, it's like you were part of this old ilk of guys where they're talking about Akeem and they're talking about Patrick Ewing and all these big men, these pioneers in the game that made, like, Wilt, Bill Russell, whatever it may be. So you're going already into that umbrella while the game is already changing at a certain point.
And now you want the opposite of big man. You want like a
Yes.
small man to be your big man, and you're like Grant Williams. Is he the 5 of the future at 6'7"? And is that what we this is what people want now is the next Draymond Green to play the 5. And
Like I told you, I got a lot more respect for Grant Williams after seeing him yesterday and realizing he is
we were at
6'6" push
We should mention we were at the where were we at the BDA
pro day.
the pro day.
Yeah,
And
seeing those guys and all the work he's done at Tennessee, and then when I actually saw his size, I was like, what the? Oh my God! Oh. Okay,
so let's talk about the pro day. First of all, this is the first one that I had ever been to.
Same here.
That's what I was going to ask you. It feels like it's completely worthless, and it's just like a networking thing where, like, we had Rustillo on the podcast, and he was talking about the Combine. Rustillo goes to the Combine every year, and he said he's not really there for the basketball. He's just there to sort of network, and that's the vibe that I got at this thing too. So my question to you was did you do this? But it sounds like you didn't.
No, I
You never did
had
any
to
of the
do
pro
one
days.
of those.
And what are your
I did
thoughts
go to
on
the
the
combine.
What are like your thoughts on the idea of the pro day, the idea of the combine, and this idea that like all the people that are there, and we saw this yesterday, like all the people that are there are doing the same thing where you bump into someone you know that works in media or another coach, and they all do the same thing where they're like, this is bullshit. Why are we here? This is a waste of time. This isn't going to change my opinion on anybody. And I don't really understand what the point of all that is. So like as a player, my question is, what would that be like for you to have to do that, knowing that that's what everyone's sort of thinking
I
about?
think you looked at it a little bit differently than me, because for me, networking with those people was actually a good thing.
No, I'm saying the networking's important. I'm saying the players, like if you're Al Durham from Indiana who enters his name into the draft, he's probably not going to get drafted. He knows that, but he has this opportunity to ball out in front of Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra, and Rob Pelinka's there, and he walks into this gym and he's like, oh my God, this might be my opportunity. And then come to find out, like those guys are just like looking at their watches, like, what the hell am I doing here? I'm like, what is going on here?
I mean, that means he didn't take advantage of his opportunity. So everything you're saying is definitely a positive to me. As a player, you're like, all these guys are in the room. All I got to do is get their attention. So I'm gonna go ball out. I'm gonna go be
Jalen
that guy.
Hands was getting the attention. Jalen Hands was doing like 360 windmills, and it was funny.
But then he was airball some threes too.
But he got their attention.
Baby Westbrook. Yeah, Baby Westbrook. He's like, I got to go be an athlete out here.
No, I thought, something like that is, I'm looking at it like whoever I'm going up against, I mean, I can't control what they're looking at or what they're trying to see, but if I go out there and I dominate and give that effort, if the time comes, end of the first round, end of the second round, and they see me and then they realize that, I work hard every day, and they saw me in that pro day, saw something that, might help them put me on the team, a summer league team, something, just keep it back in their head. I would definitely take advantage of that. So I think that's a positive.
But are you speaking as like a guy who is a fringe first rounder? Or are you speaking as you yourself?
Okay.
As the like,
no, I'm
your
not
experience?
speaking of myself.
I'm saying
speaking
take yourself
of
back to 2007.
So old boy from IU that you just talked about, didn't you just say you read that he decided that he was going back to school?
Yeah, he's coming back. Yeah,
it was a pro day and he was doing his thing, but maybe he saw and he got feedback saying, you know what, it wasn't enough. Maybe some school.
I know. I'm talking about you yourself. Take yourself back to 2007. And this current structure of what the draft is now exists in 2007. Like you had the combine back then, but now it's become like a bigger thing, and these pro days are things. Like I don't really remember that being a thing quite as much.
I don't remember it being a thing either, but I was also projected, first. So even if I did go, I wouldn't even participate.
Yeah.
I would be sitting right there in street clothes. And
what did you do at the
The
combine?
Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah, exactly. What did you do at the combine?
I actually did the lifts and the jumping and the running. I didn't do the lifts because of my wrist.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, or you were worried after Durant.
So you
couldn't lift the
also
bar,
benched 185 0 times.
Yes.
Wow.
No one knew that. It's a nice tidbit behind the scenes there. I do think it's weird with all these pro days, and then you have the team workouts also. So we get the combine, we get these pro days.
That's why I want to say it was different, because we was talking to a coaching friend of mine, Dane Johnson, and there's not a lot of workouts so far. And I feel like, I don't know if you remember Daquan literally did 17 workouts.
Yeah.
He basically worked out for everybody, and it was like nonstop. So he was just trying to get in front of these people in the teams. But now I guess you have your agencies, and they're doing the pro days, and the teams are just coming there.
How important we saw you brought up that you would have sat out if you had to do the pro day. We saw that yesterday. RJ Barrett was at the BDA pro day, but he was wearing just the jumpsuit and just kind of walking around and saying, "I'm RJ Barrett. You don't need to see me play anymore."
That's not what he said.
He didn't.
I'm actually
he didn't say that.
A fan of his. I like what he said.
But he said it without saying it. But
he said, "I'm RJ Barrett and I shoot the ball."
Yeah, there's a reason he was not participating in this pro day, and it's because he's already made his statement on who he is as a player.
I think everybody else made that statement for him.
So but he's a guy who coming into this year was the #1 recruit in the country. Zion was not #1. Zion was #3, I believe. Reddish was 2, right?
#3, yeah.
Yeah. So RJ Barrett coming into the season was the #1 recruit. He was the guy that people thought would go #1 overall. And then he watches his teammate now supplant him and is probably going to be the #1 pick. How important was it for you to be #1? And you're going to say it wasn't, but like we'll get that out of the way. Oh, it wasn't. I didn't really care that much. Okay, now give us the real answer. Like when it's you and Durant, and you're weighing these decisions on how much you participate in the combine, all that kind of stuff. Like a guy like R.J. Barrett, I have to like. We did talk to him briefly, and he does seem just kind of cool and whatever. He just wants to play ball and all that kind of stuff. But there has to be some small
even
part
though he
of you
wasn't
that's like,
playing ball.
yeah, exactly,
He just wants to
exactly.
play ball. Yeah.
Some small part of you wants to be definitely number one, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's just it's the number one draft pick. Everybody wants that dream of walking upstairs first and shaking the commissioner's hand and taking that picture first. That's what you remember from that draft. But for me, when I thought about it, it was like, okay, I would go to Portland. I think it's a better fit as a team for me as a center coming to a team with a scoring wing and a scoring four-man already. That would be idea. Seattle, it was going to be you start your own franchise, and as you all know, the game was changing, and it was tough at that time to think, all right, how you going to do this? How are you going to be Shaq? How are you going to change around the whole entire franchise right now from the center position? So that was something that I thought about. But I definitely wanted to be the number one draft pick. But everybody wants to be the number one draft pick till you realize you're the first one to go up there, first interview, and then you're the last interview too, after the whole entire draft is done. So I was the first one to go back. I was the last one to leave that draft arena after everything was all over with. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's
how much like business decisions went into preserving your position as number one? Like you were number one like pretty much all season. Everyone thought you were going to be number one. So then, as the draft's approaching, as you're like in May of 2007, and are your people? Because I was not in the room for these meetings. You did not let me in the room back then.
You were in the dorm room.
Yeah, I was in the dorm room.
Greg was on a
for
flight
Nick.
going to Portland to be with Nike. Yeah.
I was not on that flight. Are there discussions about this of like figuring out ways to make sure you're still number one and improve your draft stock and all that, or is it just like
those are decisions that I wouldn't even know.
You weren't even a part of any of that, yeah.
I mean,
well, how much agency did you have? I mean, like in participating in the combine and the pro day, and like were you because this is kind of what we're seeing now is even a guy like Zion, after the lottery happens, his stepdad's the one getting in front of the microphone and saying this and that and saying Zion is going to stay in the NBA, and it's like we appreciate your comment, but like it's kind of interesting that it's coming from you and not him, and it makes it feel. And Zion came out and said, "I would if I had it my way, I would go back to Duke." And that was like a really bizarre thing because it's like, do you not have it your way? Who's holding you hostage here? Can't you make the decision yourself? So how much did you?
I mean, it's kind of like when you got like if you guys were offered just randomly, somebody offered you, the spot in the number one movie coming up, like if there was fucking the Avengers and you're the leading guy, you're like, the greatest opportunity in the world just was given to me. Like, are you just going to turn it down just 'cause?
Well, no, I know that decision. I'm saying, like, as far as like combine decisions, were these your decisions to say I want to do the shuttle run, or did you have a team say, Greg, we think there are questions about your lateral quickness, so we want to answer these questions here, and here, but also we think you're going to fuck up in this thing, so let's not do this thing, and let's
Those weren't like decisions that were made by me, but
that's what I mean,
those are probably decisions that are made when you guys question it in the media. Actually, those are all the questions that come from. It's like, who's asking these questions? You see me play, he's dominated. Oh, but yeah, I'm worried about his lateral movement. Okay, really?
Yeah.
So you want me to do this lateral shuffle, but you don't want me to play the 5-on-5? Which one is going to transfer more? It's all about playing. Like, fuck if he can walk on 2 feet. If he can go out there and dunk on somebody and you can't stop him when the game's going on, who really cares about everything else? But that's an old school mindset, It's different now.
It is weird, though. Like, the top 5 projected picks probably in this draft all decided not to get measured and use their measurements from college. And, Zion's in that group, RJ's in that group, and, RJ's listed at 6'7", Zion's listed at 6'7", and a lot of people were like, probably more around 6'6", and so all those guys protect what they already have and that's already been taken at school. And so it seems like a decision that was made by all those 5 guys.
Well, I didn't know that. But from my decision in 2007, it was kind of like, okay, there was a decision made that we weren't going to have to play at the combine.
Yeah.
But everything else, I came with the idea that you had to. If you were going into the draft, all that other stuff you had to do.
Yeah.
I had an injury, so I didn't have to lift. And everything else I had to do. So like,
That's
I
what
didn't
I mean.
even know it was a choice.
It's like shocking looking back that Kevin Durant even attempted the bench press because he had to have known going in that he could not do a single bench press of 185. That was not a surprise to him.
I think that's what we're talking about, though. I think the agency has gotten so involved on that side that they're like, now they've made it so they do have a choice. Like, I don't know if he necessarily had a choice in 2007, but now we're so deep into the vortex. These agents are like, no, Kevin Durant's not going to lift. Actually,
exactly. If Kevin Durant was coming out now, he wouldn't get within 100
and
yards.
it's bad business for the NBA to force
press.
him to lift because he's going to go join their corporation. You know what I mean? Like he's going to be employed by the NBA. So why would they, be a deterrent to him from the start?
Yeah,
True.
What
Damn.
What? So you're trying to get a coaching job. We covered this. What is your ideal situation? College,
situation would be
high school?
pro. I mean, professionals is where everybody, aspires to be.
You mean like NBA pro or like G League or like
NBA pro?
New Zealand with RJ Hampton or
Professional, NBA,
Okay.
the best basketball in the world. That's definitely an idea where everybody wants to get to, and wherever I can start to get my foot in the door that way, if it has to be G League, if it has to be in the video room. I've been shown some of these things and willing to learn, do whatever I can because that's just what I enjoy doing. I enjoy being around the game. I enjoy learning about the game.
I have to ask you, and this is something that happens with a lot of former big men. Patrick Ewing is a great example of this. They almost get put in a position where they become the big man coach. And granted, we just talked about the games evolving, so we don't have the traditional fives. Clint Capella, some of these guys would be, I guess, who they would be coaching. But Patrick Ewing was going from job to job, and they're like, okay, you just coach the big guys. And so he was getting almost boxed into a certain position, and he was getting frustrated by it. So for you coming from that vantage point, you said you're willing to work in the video room, do whatever. Are you worried about teams trying to get you to just basically coach big men because you are a big man?
Well, I mean, I am a big man, and I kind of know how to coach big man. I've done it before, so I mean.
Or do you want to coach big men? Yeah.
I understand the being put in the box, but you got to understand like when you're doing that, I'm gonna take it upon myself to show that I know other stuff, that I'm knowledgeable with some of these guard moves. Because as a big man, you need to know because everybody's switching everything now. So for me, I'm gonna have to know what these guards are doing, how to defend them. How to take advantage of them. As a big, when a guard switches on to me, I'm not running out to the three. I'm going down to the post because like I told him yesterday, it was like, yes, these quick guards have the advantage over a big guarding them out on the wing, but a big also has the advantage on the post when I got 5'11", 6-foot guard guarding me too. Just give me the ball. I want
or even
to
a
dribble, just turn around,
6'5"
shoot the damn ball.
Draymond, 6'6" Draymond.
Yeah, I mean, if he's switching on to Embiid, everybody clear out and get Embiid the ball on the post. I mean, that's just something that I would do. But, you have to be knowledgeable of all of the positions because everybody's switching nowadays. So even the wings, you got to know how to come at that. You got to know how to defend that. You got to know how to take advantage of that. So
I've said this many times about you coaching big men. My big fear is that you
compare everybody to me.
Yeah,
and that's
you get
not going to
frustrated.
happen because I was watching some of my highlights from Portland in, I want to say 2009. And I was like, God damn, you suck. You weren't even in shape. It was like game 2. I was like, fuck. I know I started to play a little bit better as it came along, but
What
the
if that's
video I
the-
watched was like, God
What
damn,
if we
boy.
come full circle with the Durant Oden thing where like Durant creates burner accounts to defend himself and Greg creates burner accounts to like make fun of himself and he's like Greg
He's like, look at this
you
fat
walk in-
ass. And it's like, turns out it's
there's a
Greg
couple.
Oden's account. Daddy loves comments. They're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So Juwan Howard just gets hired at Michigan.
Congratulations.
Yes.
First of all, you have the Miami ties. So how well do you know Juwan personally?
I played with Jawan in Portland, and he was my coach.
That's
in
right. Yeah, he
Miami.
was in Portland. That's right. So I wanted to talk about like I made this point to Tate on this trend of guys like Patrick Ewing and Chris Mullen and Penny Hardaway and Juwan Howard. These guys who made names for themselves in the NBA are, for most people, when you hear their names, you think about their NBA careers immediately, and are now going back to college to coach college basketball. And a lot of them have not found success. Some of them are still early on. Penny's still early on. Jawan obviously hasn't even coached a game yet. But the trend of this happening, going back to even like Clyde Drexler at Houston, I think we brought that up. The trend of this happening is that they don't find success. And my theory is that guys of your stature, guys like you who are so good, you grow up wanting to play in the NBA. It's always all about the NBA, and the idea of college is just kind of an afterthought. And you eventually fall in love with college along the way. But the goal, to hear you say it, as you're saying right now, is you want to still coach in the NBA. Is that something that you'd say is a fair assessment? Obviously, you can't speak for Juwan Howard, but just the fact that you said you want to coach in the NBA, when I know how much Ohio State means to you, I know how much college basketball meant to you. I just find that fascinating. And do you think that's like fair assessment for me to have of to be sort of worried that Juwan Howard, not that he's not going to do a good job, but that I don't think Juwan Howard does not strike me as a guy that wants to spend the next 25 years of his life in Ann Arbor, Michigan, coaching the Wolverines. Like, I think his aspiration is still like, I would love to take over for Spoelstra someday, or I would love to, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I can't speak for him, but I know for me, I want to coach in the NBA. I want to coach Ohio State one day. I mean, I want to do it all. We can.
You can't do both. You
can't do both at the same time, but you can.
Indiana
eventually.
fans tried. Indiana fans tried to get Brad Stevens to coach the Hoosiers and the Celtics at the same time, and it turns out you cannot do that. You can't do it both. So you have to pick one, Greg. Unfortunately.
No, you cannot. But I mean, these guys. The one thing I just hope for them is time, because as you know, it takes at least 3-4 years to get your guys to change the program
spoken
around.
Like a true coach right here.
I mean, it does. And then, probably year 5, it's your culture now. And now you're really going to build. When guys come in, you're getting these type of players like, look, this is what we want, and this is how things are going to go here. But that takes time to build. When you come in a program, you're actually having somebody else's vision of what this team should be. So it takes some time to turn it around. And all you need to do is give these guys some time, as you give a lot of other coaches time. How come you can't get these ex-players time who actually knows and spent time in that university and build good programs there quickly? But that's just the nature of the beast. But if you give these guys time, I think they can do some really good work.
Kevin Stallings was given a raw deal. I completely agree. Fired too soon. Mm-hmm. Gone too soon.
It is interesting though, just like looking at the Patrick Ewing and Juwan Howard. Not to say that Patrick Ewing is trying to use Georgetown to get back to the NBA to be a head coach, but those were the opportunities to be head coaches. They weren't in the NBA. They didn't give. We even saw when the Lakers were interviewing everyone, and they were giving the 3-year deals to some guys in the 5-year, and the 5-year deal was just going to be for some certain coach that they were going to possibly get to come save them. Mm-hmm. But former ex-players were coming out and saying, why would you not give Ty Lue the 5-year deal? He's an ex-player, he's a part of the NBA, yada yada yada. Mm-hmm. And then some people were saying, well, they just don't want him to be around. They don't want him to be a head coach, whatever it may be. And then now guys have to go back to college that have the ilk of a Juwan Howard or Patrick Ewing just to get their first opportunity. So what does that kind of say about the NBA?
I'm not the NBA. I can't speak to the NBA.
All
so
right.
why are you looking at
All right,
me?
good. Kyle, call Adam Silver and let's get him on the line. Yeah, let's figure this out. No, I just find it interesting because that was his first opportunity to be a head coach, and it's in college, and there's so much back and forth between the NBA talking about college basketball talking about professional basketball, but they're so tethered together in some way, and it's nice that college basketball has now become a nice way for these guys to get opportunities to be head coaches to then maybe make the leap back to the NBA and get a real job.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good opportunity for a lot of guys, and especially with these ex-players, with everything going on in the NCAA, I think it's just good to get guys who care about basketball back. Mm-hmm. You get coaches.
Did you say back or bag? Basketball back?
Mm-hmm. Back.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm actually going away from the bag.
Okay,
That's what I'm talking about. Actually, getting away from those bags being dropped, and to getting coaches who want to get these players and want to see them succeed. As a basketball player professionally, doesn't matter if it's overseas. You want coaches who been there, done all these things, and be like, look, this is an opportunity for you. I'm gonna be honest with you. You might struggle in the G League, and it's gonna be a hard time. But going over here overseas, might be better fitted for you. But you come here to this university, I'm gonna take care of you as a coach. I'm gonna care for you as
Yeah.
a coach, not just drop the bag and be like, you should be okay.
You belong in the NBA, by the way, because I just now realized as you're talking about being honest and taking care of these guys. I feel like you'd be a horrible recruiter because you're way too on. You keep it too real, and I'm watching you talk to and all the years I've known you and all the times I've seen you like meet other players, and now you've kind of we've gotten older, and you're in this like mentorship role, and where it's not like that serious, but like I have watched you interact. I mean, yesterday were there some of the guys that come up to you and just sort of the things you would say. You're way too honest with these guys. I could see you
I didn't know that
not being able to. Well, I'm saying yes, that's not a
I thought I
good
was
thing.
supposed to be. I
RJ
don't know how
Barrett
else
was
to be.
smiling to like walking
No,
away
Greg,
scared
when,
shitless.
when you go into someone's living room to recruit them, and you're like, I'm going to be honest with you. I think
Just know they never really love you.
Hey, I mean, I feel like when you're recruiting, when I grew up, that's what my mom wanted to hear. She wanted to hear some, some sincerity when I hear a coach say, "Look, I'm gonna take care of your son, for this next year or 4 years, wherever it is." And now being the age I am, if I'm trying to get a kid to come to my team, that's all I want to know. I want you to know that I want the best for you as a young man, young woman. I want you to grow in a great atmosphere, and I want you to use basketball to better yourself because, that's what it's done for me.
But you're not afraid to neg their talent and be like,
Why would you sugarcoat something? You gotta be honest with these kids, man. Because how else they gonna get better? If you sitting there telling them that they're the greatest thing and they have no flaws, how are they gonna get better?
No, I'm saying
gotta
once
work on that shit.
they get there, do that. I'm saying to get them.
Greg
to
Schoen recruits
commit,
him
yes.
in 2009 playing for Portland. He's like, look at this. He's like, I could have been better.
I told you he's fat as fuck. Like I couldn't run up and down the court.
Kid's like, my coach talks shit about himself. I want to play for this guy.
What about just in general the stigma of being an ex-player who is a coach? Because that seems to be a thing at every level where you're not ex-players unless you had a reputation as just like basically being a point guard who was a genius, like a Steve Nash type. I feel like if Steve Nash wanted to coach, I'm sure everyone would love that and would be like, oh, he's going to do a great job. But basically every other player, the stigma is like, you guys are idiots and the coaches are the smart people. So the people who should be really given the coaching jobs are the ones that have been trying to be coaches their whole lives, not these guys who are playing.
Oh, not the guys who are actually on the court, actually making the changes on the fly. Those are the guys who I want to see become coaches. The guys who are actually going through it, who is documented. You've seen these guys dominate out there on the court. Why, if he can't think it in real time, how come he can't think it from the sidelines when he has 4 other guys that's supposed to help him put their input also? I mean, it's not just about one guy, the ex-player. It's about the whole entire coaching staff. Everybody's working together for the betterment of that team to win that game. So I'm not just
He's got the
putting
coach
it all
speak
on,
down, doesn't he?
I know.
on the ex-player.
I know. I'm like, hire this man.
That's a polite way of saying that's a very boring answer, by the way. But
Okay, I'm a boring guy. Shit.
No, I liked it. I think that was the.
I'm a boring
I
guy.
do think it might be a culture war that happens at some point with these coaches, where it's like the non-playing coaches versus the former player coaches. You know what I
Right,
mean?
yeah.
Where like and then the analytics staff is like
Analytics
right in the
versus
middle. It's
the
like a
old
Venn
school,
diagram, and
yeah.
everyone's like fighting over the space.
I mean, you can fight with space.
That's
but
why you're happy
I'm
you're a big
bigger.
man. Yeah, exactly.
No, I mean, it all works together because you got to be able to use that stuff too. I mean, you got to be able to look at a shot chart and just be like, look, man, you're more comfortable shooting from, the right side baseline. Let's work on how we can get you to that spot. Your point guard, he's better coming downhill with his left hand. Let's figure out how we're going to get guys to move around, get that switch with that right person who can't stay in front of you while you're going downhill with your left hand. It's all going to work together. I mean, and you just got to be willing to look at it differently and take some input from other people.
I want to ask you about this. You talked about getting to your spot, and this is something that I always find fascinating when you look back at like Jordan, or you hear like interviews with like Reggie Miller, all these guys from the 90s. Even Donovan Mitchell was great about it coming out of the draft. He was like, I know exactly where I want to get to the court. Kobe was, a master at that. I feel like some of these guys that come out now that have been, in the we talked about the AAU stuff before, but they don't necessarily know what they're good at yet at all, but they are just this raw talent. Like, I don't have a spot. I don't even have a shot, but I'm 6'8", I'm 225, and I have a 7'3" wingspan.
And people seem to think I'm good at basketball because they keep telling me, and I score 30 points every time I go.
So
out.
that's what I
all
find.
know.
It's so hard because you see a guy like Siakam, right? Like Siakam, when they first found him, I think Masai was saying he could, he didn't really have much going on at all, and now he's a potential all-star. He's developed into this. So when you're on the pro level, I wonder how hard it is to decipher what guys can take that raw talent and become a basketball player. Like, what do you see in a guy, and like how are we so far removed from guys being able to talk about I got to get to this spot on the court, because I don't really hear that out of Cam Reddish too much.
Well, I mean, I look at it this way, like a guy who knows how to get to the spot, that's one of the slower, smarter players. Those are the guys that sometimes you can't take off the court, but half the time you're like, why the hell is he on the court?
It's Kyle Lowry.
I mean, I'm not going to say it's him. I haven't depicted his whole game like that.
But I mean, he makes winning plays and he
yeah.
knows where he has to go. He's not going to be an athlete and do something and outwill you in a certain way.
But all these guys working together, is going to make a good team. You got guys who can just run all day, and then your developmental team's like, look, he can run all day, but when he's getting here, he's actually pretty damn good. So let's develop that, and then let's just bring it out a little bit. Let's bring it out a little bit. Now you got your analytics, you got data like, look, he's good here, he's good here. Now let's just make it work. But he's always been able to run for 35, 40 minutes straight without getting tired. That's the type of guy you need. That's why these developmental guys and guys who are analytic and really looking at these guys like, look, okay, we could take advantage of this raw talent and we can develop this. That's really important. I really hate my real life answers.
No, I'm enjoying
I'm just letting
it.
you go, man.
I'm just letting it be like a resume. This is the resume for Greg Oden. We will put this.
We're
out
trying to
the
get you
world.
hired. I want to,
Yes.
because as Tate said, if you get hired, I get hired. Right?
No.
Right? Right?
That's what Tate said. That's not what I said.
Yes. I will say, if Mick Cronin hires Greg Oden, I will cover UCLA with the brightest way possible. I will talk only glowingly about UCLA, about the program.
This is a good point.
about
How do
the
you talk
history,
about it now?
like what it is? I mean, I enjoy it.
It is.
How many games
I
a
like
year
the
do y'all
360.
go?
Hey, look, I like the 360 dunks are good. The air balls from 3 not good.
Not
that's,
as good.
That's
yeah.
what we'll say.
You signed up to do the Big Three.
I did.
Didn't you? Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't you get drafted like 2 years ago for that? And
No, so my
What
name
happened?
was in the draft for the past 2 years, and I didn't get drafted.
But this year you did get
But
drafted.
this year I did get
So
drafted.
are you trying to make a comeback to the NBA? Is that what I'm supposed to believe here?
Coaching,
this-
yeah.
LeBron.
Can we put it in the title? The title of this podcast: Greg Oden on his comeback to the NBA, on his quest to come back to the NBA. Last time.
No,
Greg Oden on his quest to LA.
no.
Greg
I mean,
Oden.
look,
Quote.
I
quote.
enjoy
I
playing,
still think I
man.
got some left in the tank.
Yes, it's 3 on
Welcome
3.
to my city, King.
Can you just lean in the microphone and say, "I still think I have some left in the tank," so we can actually make that a direct quote, please? Please, and we'll cut the video and we can say, and we can.
I
doctor this
still
up.
have something in the tank
There we
to
go.
play in the NBA.
Well, we
There we
can
go.
cut that out.
Edit that up.
That's called editing.
Chop that up. We'll make that, and we'll get a lot of clicks. It'll be great.
Nah, man. It's 3 on 3. I know I'm trying to get myself in shape. It's going to be quick moving, games to 50. But like I said, I can get some rebounds, and I'm 7 feet tall, and I can get a hook shot off.
Do you have Ice Cube's number now?
I do not. But, I mean, I can always reach him because social media, everybody has everybody's number.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the idea of like you being friends with Ice Cube.
Me too. Don't worry.
Yeah, you should make that
I
happen.
really want to hit the yay when I see him. I mean, I'm like the super fan. Friday After Next is literally like my all-time favorite movie.
I saw
so-
Mike Epps the other day.
Really?
Yeah. He was mean to my friend. He was very upset about the dog walked by him. He thought the dog was coming after him. Mike Epps was like, I don't play that. And I was like, Mike Epps is the best.
I actually
be
went and
trying.
saw him.
Like, Mike Epps,
I just
Have a
saw him
great
in
day, Mike.
Columbus like 3-4 weeks ago. It was good.
Okay.
Hometown.
Mike Epps
What-
is hilarious.
Speaking of another Mike, what are we doing to get Mike traded?
Oh,
to
yes.
Memphis. What can you and I do? How do we figure this out? Like he's going to get traded, but we gotta pick the right spot. It's got to be the right fit.
Utah.
Utah. That's your pick.
Yeah, replace Rubio.
I'm not saying replace anybody. But
No,
I think Utah is a
You're
good
thinking-
fit.
Well, Rubio's a free agent, so they need a point guard. So
Greg.
Yeah.
Greg's too selfless. he's thinking about Mike and like what would be a good fit for Mike. I'm talking about us. You and I.
No,
What
on
would
the
be
way
good for
here,
us?
on the way here, he goes, the quick fix for me not having friends out here in LA is Mike Conley coming to the Lakers or the Clippers.
No, no.
This was a true story.
No,
He
what
said
I said
this in
was-
his car ride.
Titus, you're
I said-
slowly going to become Tommy Alter.
No
I see
kidding.
pictures of Mike Conley, Ice Cube, Kanye.
The quote
and Titus.
was Mike getting traded to the Lakers would solve every problem I have in my life. That was the
Yes.
quote. That was the direct quote. If Mike ends up on the Lakers, every problem I have in my life will immediately go
He
away.
was like, "You're not moving here, so Mike is the quickest fix."
I need Mike.
Mick Cronin, hire Greg Oden.
Yeah, please.
That is what we
He
want.
doesn't want to coach in college though. He wants to.
I never said I did not want to coach in college.
It's called a pit stop.
What else? What else we got to talk about? What rookies do you like? What guys have you
Yes.
seen from college basketball? From watching college basketball or going to these pro days or anything else?
I mean, this is the only one I went to. Let's see, who stood out last night? Guy from Terrence Mann.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
from Florida State.
Yeah, he stood out yesterday. There was a couple guards who I saw that. Damn, I wish I had that sheet.
Oh,
the little cheat sheet.
they left such a lasting impression. I don't remember their names.
Greg sounded like Pat Riley already.
No, I like Noara.
Jordan
from,
Noara?
Yeah,
Yeah.
not just from the pro day, but when I watched Louisville, I was like, man, when he turns it on, man, he's really freaking good. Who else? I mean, Zion, RJ.
How do you feel about Romeo Langford? Romeo Langford and Cam Reddish are the two big question marks for me in this draft.
I mean,
in the sense of-
if Cam's shooting lights out,
Yeah.
then go for it. Romeo.
if he's making shots, he's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, if he's not making shots, not as good. I agree.
Romeo is tough. I'm still an Indiana guy at heart.
See, this
So
is the, hold
I
on. Let me just
personally
stop
want
you.
him to come back to school.
Let me just stop you right here. Where this is where we've reached. This is where we've gotten to with Romeo Langford. Is that every time I ask anyone about Romeo Langford, it takes like 30 seconds to just go.
Yes, we really want him back. Actually,
And that is that's really all that needs to be said about the year he had. He wasn't bad. It just like the guy. I mean, maybe I should ask you about this. Did we talk about this last summer where Romeo was the savior? Like Romeo was a bigger recruit
Yeah.
in the state of Indiana than you were. You were a better recruit, but he was a bigger recruit.
Which is so dumb.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, that's not good.
And it was partially,
That's not right.
if we're being fair, it was partially his doing. Like I don't know. I guess you could argue the kid can make the decision whenever he wants, but at the same time, he did like kind of drag it on all the
Yeah.
way forever. And it's some small part of him loved going into these gyms and seeing all the middle-aged men in candy stripe pants like losing their minds that a 17-year-old looked at them. But that to me was like the disappointment in Romeo. I think like if none of that had happened, if that wasn't the backdrop, if Romeo Langford was like a 3-star recruit from Iowa. I don't know why. I always pick Iowa when I'm trying to think of hypotheticals for where guys are from. I don't know why that happens. But if he's from Iowa, he's just some random kid that's like a 3-star recruit from Iowa, and then he just like gets to IU and balls out and is better than anyone expected. I think people would actually really like him. It's just he was billed as like the savior. I mean that he seriously might have been the biggest recruit in the history of the state of Indiana.
I personally, for him, I mean, because we all know he wasn't healthy all year. Like something's wrong with his hand all year. I just think one more year at school to have a healthy year would just solidify his top 5, top 10 projected pick for me. And then as a kid from Indiana, it would be great to see him do that at that school.
And he's got a good class coming in next year. And he's also in a situation where if you're not in the top 14, and I've seen him, 17, I've seen him 10, I've seen him 20. If you're not a lottery pick, you don't have that option on that 4th year. I mean, you're playing a gambling game at that point anyway.
But he is staying in. He's officially staying in.
Yes, and
So,
I will
yeah.
say this: your Indiana fans, they were very upset with Romeo. I saw he put I'm going to stay in the draft. I'm going to go. And the candy stripe men, the mini men in the candy stripe pants and the mini gyms across Indiana were very upset in the comments at Romeo. But as you know, with Romeo, it's always a tragic love affair. You know what I mean? It always ends poorly.
There you go.
So here we are.
There you go. But yeah, the
One and
kid
done.
was. I mean, he was a top 5 pick at the start of the season, and I don't know. So, how close were you to coming back? Is this a thing that people actually look at you smiling?
So
I know. Have we talked about this on the podcast?
I don't
I've talked to
think
you
we
about it
ever
a million
have.
times, but yeah. How close were you to actually coming back? Because it feels like anytime guys think they have any shot whatsoever going first round, they're gone. And the exceptions are notable because they're so rare. Like the Miles Bridges and Marcus Smarts out there. We remember those because it's like, what the hell? What an idiot. And even then, like,
or the Ty Lawsons.
yeah, like it worked out for Miles Bridges, but still it didn't work out. Like it's still like people are like, okay, it kind of worked out and he had a good. But
Hold on, don't you slander Miles Bridges? He's a monster. Great Charlotte Hornet. Said he had a bad rookie year. He's going to bounce back.
right, it worked out, but it didn't work out. But then I don't know. It like no one. If you come back to school, we talked about this on the podcast the other day, where RJ Hampton is he's going to New Zealand. It's reached a point where anytime anyone decides they want to play college basketball, the world at large is like, you're an idiot, dude. What are you doing? Go get paid now. But all these guys, like Zion says, I would love to come back to Duke if I could. I know you personally. I'll let you talk in a second. You loved your college basketball experience from what I can get all the times we've talked about it. So it feels like the players would love to come back, but at the same time, they never, ever, ever do. So how close do you just say this so that you curry favor for Ohio State fans? Because if you came out and you're like, hell no, I was never coming back, then maybe Ohio State fans would be mad at you? Or,
No.
So you just pretend like I was interested in coming back?
No, I wanted to come back. I went to class after the national championship game. You know, I tried
do
to, like I tried to stay involved in school as much as you could. But for me, cars were stopping and people were hopping out to ask for pictures and autographs. It took me 45 minutes to get to a class. It took me 10 minutes to walk just a week before the national championship. So it was like I physically couldn't even get to class on time. But you know,
And that's why you left?
a lot of time, yeah, for a big part. And then
Way to go, Ohio State students.
Ohio State
Get out of
students
the
blew
way.
it.
it wasn't students; it was the grown men.
All they had to do is
And
give
they
you
were still
space.
in candy striped pants. I don't understand.
No, but it's tough because you know a lot of these kids, they want to stay kids. I mean, the college experience is one of the greatest things you can have, just as developing as a young man, young woman. It's that last part where you can kind of fuck up and have that cover over you.
Yeah.
You know, and you want that, but the world around you saying no.
Right.
Go make that money. You have to. This is what we're telling you, and that's why it's so awkward when a guy's like, "No, I don't want that yet. I still want to be a kid. I still want to enjoy this. I still aspire to be something in Ohio State's all-time record books." I mean, that's something I always thought about when I went there. Like, I wanted to win the most games, have the most block shots, most games played. You know, have that walk out senior year and cry like you did. You know,
it was a bit. It was just a bit. I
no,
was
it
doing
wasn't.
for- yeah.
You couldn't even stop.
It's going to be your reaction when Mike Conley gets traded to the Clippers.
I think what you just said. For some reason, people that don't follow college basketball, they either don't believe that or they do believe it, and like blows their mind that someone in your position who, from the I don't know the first time you were projected to be the number one pick in the draft, like when you were 16, 15, something like that. People were saying whenever you come out, you'll probably be number one. The idea that someone like you could say, I would love to stay 4 years, like I really, really love college basketball. I don't know. People don't believe that, and it's really frustrating for us because we understand that. Yeah, that people like that you guys do care about.
I mean, let's say that. I mean, Kevin Durant is another example of that. I mean, he was on Bill's podcast, and we're sitting afterwards, and he's playing with Texas on NCAA basketball 09. And Bill's like, "Why you really care about?
Yeah.
What you know?" And he's like, "Yeah."
People
he's
think
like,
that-
this
yeah.
means the world to me. I love Austin. It's my favorite city.
And especially you being forced. You were we were the first. I'll throw myself in there. I was also recruited coming out of high school. We were the first recruiting class that was forced to go to college. I maybe would have gone to the NBA. Tate. Who knows? I can't live in a hypothetical
Dreams
world.
aren't over.
I was forced to go to college.
Say it. I still got some left in the tank.
So it feels. Yeah, I'm ready to make my comeback. I still have some left in the tank.
Fuck
So with that, there's that perception too that even a guy like Durant who loved Texas and a guy like you that loved Ohio State, you were still forced to go there, and it was like it was Stockholm syndrome. You're a hostage. They made you love them, and now you moved on. But it's like you don't really. Come on, Greg. You don't really love like college basketball that much. You know.
So this is a funny story. I don't know if we ever told this one, but so we land the day after the national championship game, and it's like a whole bunch of people in this little hangar here, fans cheering for the parade that should have been. And then they like hand the mic, and Ronnie Stokes is asking us questions. He goes to Mark, and I'm standing right next to him, and Mark's like, "I just want to thank you all for this year," holding back his tears, and goes, "I just want you all to know, I will be returning for my sophomore year." And then he looks at me and hands me the mic, and I'm like, "Fuck you, Mark, fucking asshole." I remember that. That shit was funny as hell. It was like, I will be returning for my sophomore year. And just
Greg, your thoughts.
Greg, your thoughts. They were doing that at the Virginia celebration when Virginia won the title. They were doing that to those guys like DeAndre Hunter and Ty Jerome and Kyle Guy. Like whoever the guy running the program was just basically like, so anything you guys want to say to all these fans? And they're like, fuck no.
I just got a text from my agent.
It would have been hilarious if they announced they were going pro there, right there. It just like backfired.
Crowd goes wild. But they just get it
Or,
misconstrued.
they phrase it the wrong way. They're like, after talking with my family, we decided that I'm going to the NBA, and then everyone just goes crazy, and they're like, wait, what did he say? Fuck.
48th pick to the Nets. Let's
I'm
go.
coming back
oh, shit.
to make my decision that I will be in the. I'm coming back to get all my shit and go to the NBA. Oh.
Greg, is there anything else on the draft that any other things that you saw, anyone that you care about, any teams that you're interested in? I brought up something to you before the podcast, and this is my Cameron. I have the Cameron wars going on between wings. I got Cameron Johnson versus Cam Reddish, and I want one of them to go to the Hawks. And I don't know which one. The Hawks have the 8th and the 10th pick. And I know it's probably crazy for Cam Johnson to go 10. Maybe they trade back and get Cam Johnson. But you got Trae Young, got John Collins. You got a team pretty well constructed. You got Bazemore and these guys. You got Vince Carter coming off the bench as like a OG old head to kind of mentor these guys like Elton Brand did with the Sixers for a little while, which is nice. And if you get a guy like Cam Johnson who doesn't take away, doesn't necessarily need shots, also is similar to Trae Young, has a range to 30 feet, I don't know. I like that team. So I'm just saying, is there any guy that you could see fitting into an NBA team that's in this draft that you're like, oh, that makes sense to me? Whether it be like Ty Jerome going to the Utah Jazz to be a backup point guard.
No.
Without a list.
No.
He's like, where is that piece of paper?
That's what I'm about to say. I was like, without a list of names, I don't know who else I can think about. I mean,
Just lean into the microphone and go, no. Next question.
Just go, damn.
Damn, that's tough. All right, thanks for doing this, Greg. We will have you back whenever you get your head coaching job.
when
First
the
head
fuck are
coaching
y'all
job.
going to upload all your X shit to SoundCloud?
Oh yeah, you're one of the. It's you and one other person in my life listen to our pod on SoundCloud, and that's a Kyle question. Kyle, what's going on?
Damn, son. I guess I got to get back on it.
I just like you just straight up stop putting it on. I was waiting for someone to
I
notice.
was waiting for somebody to notice. It was Greg Oden. All right.
Yep. Kyle did not expect that. He thought it'd be like one comment, like, where the hell's the pod?
All right,
Daddy
Greg,
loves comments.
before we'll give you the microphone real quick. Final thoughts to get yourself hired. Give your pitch, just real quick.
My name's Greg Oden. I know a little bit about basketball. No, that's not it. Honestly, look, man,
I like it. He's got
I just
humor.
think I got something to offer to some teams. Really, I enjoy being around the game. I enjoy learning the game. I enjoy the NBA. I enjoy all this stuff. I enjoy living life. I love my daughter and my wife, and prayers up to my grandmother, Claudette Reeder, who lost her life May 28th. Hey, I'm a good guy. I hope somebody can keep me in the room.
An actual good guy, not
That's
our
tough.
not our type of good guy.
He said he's a good guy. He wants to be a coach. That's a problem.
No, this is
I
a real
know.
good guy.
Why is that always a problem?
Because good guys don't win.
If they don't have time.
Well, good guys in college can't win. That's I guess Tony
that's
Bennett
just-
is proving that. But that's the fear with Virginia winning the title. Is like, were we wrong about Tony Bennett?
Oh my gosh,
Does he have bodies?
good guys really can't
No,
coach?
no, it's not that. It's like, where is Tony Bennett hiding the bodies? Like, he might be a serial killer now. That might be like, because there's no way you can win titles and be like a great person in college basketball. It just doesn't work. So now I'm worried about what does it say? What does it say about Tony Bennett?
Roy Williams.
I beg to differ, man. There's good guys out here. They just need a chance.
Give him a chance.
All right, Greg. Thanks for doing this. We'll do it again next year, something like that. But yeah, appreciate it.
All right, thanks for having me.